we'll have a new type of series, I guess. We're gonna talk about a team that did not make this 22 team format. So there's 8 teams, and we'll talk about them every week until the season starts. And we're gonna discuss things about how they should improve their record. Well, so for the first week, we will start with the Charlotte Hornets. And the Charlotte Hornets have been a team that haven't made the playoffs that often, and a team uh, that's not very good. So, what do you think this team can do to improve their record next season and hopefully make the playoffs? Jason?
Well, I'm sorry to all the Hornets fans, but I don't think there really is anything they can do. I mean, they have so many bad contracts on decent or declining players. You see, Batum's making around 25 million, Rozier's making around 17 million, Bismack Biyombo and Tyler Zeller are each making around 15 million a year. And that's not going to cut it if you're the Hornets, if you want to win. You see, Bismack Biyombo and Tyler Zeller and Nicholas Batum, they're all in their older years. They're aging. Tyler Zeller is in his age 27 season, but he's not going to get better as he progresses through the years. Rozier may be able to make some impact, but he's not worth 17 million a year. As you can see, there's a lot of young talent on this team, like Miles Bridges, Devontae Graham, but they need to be developed. PJ Washington, they all need to be developed. They're not exactly the type of players who can take over a game. They don't have enough role players. The Hornets are kind of in a mess situation right now. They don't really have a clear star, and although Devontae Graham is good, he's not a very good player that can lead them to the playoffs. And I just think they don't have the pieces to compete for the playoffs right now.
I to be honest, I can't believe the Charlotte Hornets even got 23 wins because that team. I don't think that team was supposed to win that much games. I mean, obviously there's the cap. You mentioned, Jason, those cap about Nicholas Batum, Bismack Biyombo, all those players. But I think Terry Rozier, he's been playing good, but not up to his money. What he got, he's not playing up to that. I mean, I don't think you shouldn't have paid. Hornets should not have paid that much money to Terry Rozier. I mean, he's not playing up to that potential. I feel like you should get rid of these contracts. Charlotte Hornets should get rid of these contracts. They should get rid of Nicholas Batum, all these players. Maybe let Terry Rozier write his contract out and sign him to a little bit less, and then you get ready for 2022 free agency because all these players, LeBron, Kawhi, Steph Curry, if they don't resign, they're out on the free agent mark. I mean, the Charlotte Hornets, they have a bunch of rookie contracts unless, like, otherwise, except for Nicholas Batum and all those players, they have a bunch of rookie contracts. They can sign at least 2 players if they get rid of all these players.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the reason why they've been such a good team, I mean, look at the beginning of the season, you think that the Hornets would be the 15th seed in the East and the worst team in the NBA, but they've had 23 wins, and that's due to Devontae Graham. He's become a very good player, and since Kemba Walker left, he kind of took that starting role, and he's become a really good player. And I think what they need to do is they need to develop their young players like Devontae Graham, PJ Washington, and Malik Monk. If you develop those players, I think they could become good, solid, or elite players. And I think that's what the Hornets need to do. And like both of y'all said, their cap situation is kind of bad. They have old and expensive players like Nicholas Batum and Willie Hernan Gomez, but I think they should try to trade them to a team that's not really contending. Like you look at this year, the Atlanta Hawks, they were all their players were almost on rookie deals, so they took Evan Turner's and Alan Crabb's huge contracts. So I think that's what they should do. Even if it's just for a second round pick, they should try to get at least something out of those players. And I think what they the most need to do is they want Charlotte a place for other players to come play, because you look at their history, they haven't had that much of a good that many good players in except from the draft. So I think what they should do is they should try to make the playoffs next season. So when that 2021 or 2022 free agency comes around, that they can snag. Not, I'm not talking about a LeBron James or a Kawhi Leonard, but maybe like a guy like a solid elite player like a Zach LaVine or a Kyle Lowry, a guy that can still play and still is good, but is not is not that is not a superstar type player. So I think that's what they need to do. They need to make need to make Charlotte a place for players to come play.
I mean, they don't need a lead superstar, but they need someone who can score the ball. That's something they struggled in this year. They were dead last in scoring. I mean, you can't do anything about that. You can't have Devontae Graham or Terry Rozier, players that haven't even they don't have experience about carrying a team. You can't have them scoring like 25 or something like that, crazy numbers like that. You can't have them do that. You need a scorer on that team for you to elevate to the next level. I mean, that's what I say.
Yeah.
Well, quick question. Do you guys think that Devontae Graham will win the most improved player, or will it be someone like Brandon Ingram?
I think that Devonte Graham has established himself as a really good player. I mean, but the thing about the NBA is that they don't really count second year players to be in the and most improved player like conversation or to win it. It's only happened a couple times, but you look at all the players that are probably in that like that conversation to win the most improved player, and most of the players are on their second years, like Bam Adebayo and Devonte Graham. The only exception, like you said, Jason, was Brandon Ingram, and I don't think he will win because the NBA hasn't really uh, there hasn't been winners that were in their second year. So I think someone like Brandon Ingram could win it.
Okay. Aside from Bam Adebayo, Devontae Graham, Brandon Ingram, do you think there's any other candidate who could really have a shot at winning MIP? Alvin, what do you think?
I think I know it's a little bit weird, but I think Trey Young could win it because Trey Young. I mean, he wasn't like y'all remember last year in the what do you call it in the summer league. He was breaking all his shots. No one expected him, and then he proved himself. He was in the MVP conversation in the last half of the season. But I mean, he didn't even make All Star. I mean, and then this year he becomes a starter in the All Star game. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, but I think the thing about Trey Young is that he's an excellent player. He can score and stuff. But you look at their record, and he hasn't really shown that he can carry a team to these to a good amount of wins. You look at Brandon Ingram when Zion Williamson was out, he still took that team to a decent amount of wins until Zion Williamson came back. So I think that's why Trey Young is not really in that conversation.
Also, about mentioning Trae Young in the All-Star game, I believe that the only reason he didn't make the All-Star game is because he didn't play on the All-Star level until after the All-Star break. If he would have played a little earlier, like at the beginning of the season like that, I think he definitely would have become an All-Star like John Morant had the chance to become.
Yeah. So with this, the Hornets, uh, do you think they should make any drastic changes to their roster?
Yep. I believe they should trade all those terrible contracts. You look at Nicholas Batum, Terry Rozier. I don't think there's enough patience to have Terry Rozier on because of the fact that he hasn't played to his money's worth. Then you look at Tyler Zeller and Bismack Biyombo. All of them are making above $16, $17 million a year. And once you're able to trade those contracts to places like, as you said, the Atlanta Hawks, you'll be able to have tons of cap space. And that'll be really beneficial when you're trying to sign players who will help you get to the playoffs. And the second thing that you do is find a good coach, probably a college coach that'll help them and bring the players' morale up. And one of the main things that I think they should target is to collect picks, to collect as many assets that you can with all the players that you're trying to trade, so that when the draft class, like the 2021 draft class, which is super deep, comes up, you'll be able to draft some of the best players in the draft.
Yeah, but I like your points there. But the thing about the Charlotte Hornets is that you talked about the draft and stuff. You look at their past drafts. You look at the selections they made. Number 2 pick, they picked Michael Gilchrist, and now he's on the Mavericks, and he's not getting any rotational minutes. So I don't. So I think that the Hornets shouldn't try to like draft, because you look, the draft history hasn't been great these past like decade or two.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but with the new management with the new management pieces in, I feel like they've made some better draft choices. And along with that, the 2021 draft class, it's basically impossible to miss because there's so many different players with superstar potential that if you have at least one pick in the top 15, you'll have a potential superstar in that draft.
Yeah, Alvin, what are your thoughts on the Hornets?
I think they should build around Devontae Graham, and I don't know if Jason would like this, but I think they should build around Terry Rozier also, because Terry Rozier, and I I don't know if y'all forgot, but Terry Rozier, I don't know if it was last year's, no, 2 years ago, 2 years playoffs. He was amazing. That was the year when he called Eric Bledsoe, Drew Bledsoe, and then Eric Bledsoe didn't even know who Terry Rozier is, and then the very next game he went off. I mean, like, I think Terry Rozier has a chance not to be a superstar, but at least a good player. I mean, you build around those two players, you can get something special. That's what I think.
Yeah, but the problem is they both play the same position, especially with Devontae Graham being undersized. And Terry Rozier, I'll admit, he did have a good run at the postseason 2 years ago, but he's had opportunity this season, and he was outplayed by, guess who? Devontae Graham. So I don't think it's worth it to build around him, especially when you're trying to build around someone like Devontae Graham, because they play the same position, and it's been reported that Terry Rozier is not exactly happy in Charlotte. So that may cause a problem to try to build around him as well.
Yeah, but the thing about Terry Rozier is, like you mentioned, that he's earning about 17 million. But you look at his salary, every year he's going to earn less money. So, but I think they should keep Terry Rozier. I mean, they signed him to, I think, 3 years or something, and they just signed him last year. So even if they tried to trade him, I don't think many teams will want to get a player like him, because he is making that much money, and he's to other teams he's more of a sixth man type player. So I think they should try to keep him, and they should try to trade their older players like Nicholas Batum and Willie Hernan Gomez. They should just try to get possibly anything for them, because you don't want them just to walk for nothing, because next year they're probably not going to be even on an NBA roster. So you want to get at least something out of them.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. Like I said before, they need more offensive weapons. That's just something I think they need. They don't need they don't need like a Zach LaVine or a Kyle Lowry, because those are facilitators. They're not scorers. They're more of defensive side or passing, playmaking, all that. They don't like to score. You need a scorer on that team to win at least for them, because they have no scorers on that team at all. I mean, you can count Devontae Graham, but he's been only averaging 18 points. You can't do that to win a game. You're not gonna be able to win a game with that much points.
Yeah, and you look at their team, they're not that good defensively, because Devontae Graham and Terry Rozier, they're kind of undersized, and they can't really play defense that well. So I think they should try to get a guy that can get stops and score, so they can compete in the playoffs.
Yeah, but Jeremy, I need to talk about your Willie Hernan Gomez thing. I don't think it's exactly necessary that they had to trade him. I mean, he's only making 1.6 million a year. That's not going to get you much if you try to release him. And he's only 26. I think he still has a decent amount of potential. Like I said, he's not one of the biggest parts to their team, but it's not necessary that he's an essential part of their trade options.
Yeah, but they have young players like PJ Washington and these bigs. So I think these other players like Willie Hernan Gomez, even though he's not making that much money, he's not going to be in the rotation for as long as he wants. So I think it's better for them to trade him for a team that will be willing to play him and develop him.
Well, I don't think that's the case because if you look at the depth chart, it's usually Cody Zeller and Cody Zeller, Cody Zeller, then Bismack Biyombo, and then Willie Hernan Gomez. Um, I don't think because we're looking to trade both Cody Zeller and Bismack Biyombo, and because of that, I feel like Willie Hernan Gomez could be a starter on this team, which
Uh,
isn't very good.
I don't think Bismack Biyombo is on his last year of his contract, so they can just re-sign him to like something like 3 million or 4 million. So they don't have to necessarily trade him.
I mean, there's nothing else you can say about that team.
Yeah, they're just a team that you're kind of confused about when you look at them from the outside in, but you don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
Oh,
there really is no specific direction they're heading in. It's like the Pistons last year. They were trying to get to the playoffs. They did make the playoffs, but they're not very good. They're mediocre. So in those terms, I feel like that's the same way the Hornets are, except I feel like they're even worse because of the contract situations.